Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Jamestown Public School Board to order. It is Monday, August 18th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. We'd like to recognize all those in the audience tonight, and it's nice to have a crowd tonight, and thank you for coming. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jamie, would you read the school board norms?
The board developed norms are to share and respect opinions and speak with united voice once a decision has been reached, execute all duties of the school board in compliance with North Dakota Century Code, properly prepare for meetings, and commit to assessing board effectiveness and ensure high-quality governance for all stakeholders.
Thank you, Jamie. We have no public communication. Under conflicts of interest, does the board wish to declare any conflicts of interest? Other than those that have been declared, any other conflicts? Any other conflicts? If not, moving on to our consent agenda. Would the board like anything removed from the consent agenda or anything clarified? If not, is there a motion? Motion by Jamie?
Second.
Second by Jason. We have a motion, a second for approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to our regular meeting. Tonight we get to recognize our folks for years of service and awards. And so as your name is called, I'll have you meet me over here and I'll have an item for you. And then we'll have everybody line up here for one big picture.
With 5 years of service, we have Leanna Brown, Maya Saar, Sarah Hochschild, Roxanne Nitschke, Kimberly Roberts, Carla Fuchs, Steve Gopinski, Jay Schlenker, Jason Walliser, Megan Wenzel, Cassidy Trevithick. Only one of them?
Continuing on with staff with 10 years recognition, Tracy Iliff, Kevin Peterson, Michael Kessler, Allison Mack, Christy Eberhardt, Melissa Foster, Brandy Hardy, Candace McNamee, Nancy Anderson, and Jeff Meisner.
Recognizing 15 years of service, we'd like to recognize Kelly Bauer, Dina Fisher, Christy Kozel, Dorothy Lowinger, Tiffany Hillstrom, Kelly Kessler, Lindsay Cachocho, and Emma Mickelson. Recognizing 20 years of service, we have Deanne Gergen, Michael Romans, Michelle Prosick, and Janine Raff.
Recognizing 25 years of service, Mike Armitage, Jim Rolson, Lynette Ryan, Jackie Sheely, Tanya Hemmer. "30 years of service, Tricia Gaffney, Shelley Molson, Jennifer Gall, and Jennifer Michaelenko.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations to all our staff. That's fantastic. And thank you for all your years of service to Jamestown Public Schools. Moving on our agenda under correspondence, we have a thank you card from Julie Krudina in remembrance of family member of the family of Andrew Krudina. There we go. Under reports, we don't have anything. Strategic plan, nothing at this time. We hope to have the strategic plan brought to the next meeting. We met last week. Yep, and we'll have one more meeting and kind of just fine tuning. We should be ready. Under board education, we have educational competencies, new staff onboarding. Mr. Gaylor.
All right, good evening. Is that on? It's on. Okay, good deal. All right, thank you, Dr. Luck, for inviting me to talk a little bit about our new staff onboarding. So last spring, we talked a little bit about our J1 teachers, and I want to just update everyone. Those teachers are still in process due to some unforeseen delays, I guess, in the process, but we are on track for hopefully next week for those teachers to arrive. So they're going to get a similar experience as our other new teachers, and then some additional supports as we talked about last spring. So this would be all of our new teachers that were hired and ready to go by August 12th. You guys had approved some later hires in July, and so some of them didn't complete all of these requirements yet, but we're still working with them to get those completed. So any new staff member gets enrolled into or has an initial meeting with Stacy in HR, as well as Lisa in the tech department, takes care of all of those needs. They meet with me, and we kind of go through a list of modules. And those modules are just designed to really orient people to our district, to our community, to our strategic plan, as well as to take care of some compliance things to try to take a little bit of a load off of the 3 days that we have with our new teachers. In that 3 days that we have with our new teachers, they spend time, if they need to follow up on anything with HR or technology department, they do, and it's been great because we've had to spend less time with less people on those tasks, and they're just all taken care of ahead of time so they can kind of hit the ground running. We try to keep a nice moderate pace because we know that as new people, you can't be overwhelmed with that information, and so having those online modules on the front end help with that, and then just pacing differently has helped with that as well. We do some getting to know you activities. We say that's really important for those new educators to know each other well, and to know that there are so many people that across the district are there to support them. And so they meet a ton of our veteran educators through what's called the onboarding process. That's really day 2, where they spend time with veteran educators from each building going through an onboarding checklist. It's literally about 2 pages long, the checklist that they want to make sure that they know everything from those onboarding partners, from who makes the best coffee to where's the copy machine and how do I load it full of paper if it's out. So they go through all the safety protocols. The principals also meet with them and do kind of a reiteration of all those protocols for them. We got a great mental health training and just general kind of wellness and advocacy for balance training with Danielle Giesler from the counseling department, representing the counseling department in that. Then on the 3rd day, They get introduced to our instructional coaches. They get to know the role of an instructional coach and how they're there to support them as well. Dr. Leck did a overall wellness and financial wellness presentation, as well as talking about the Vital Network and our work in trying to continuously improve in those metrics. They had some training in special ed and 504 law, and then the afternoon of their third day is really focused on what are their individual needs. Some of them met with, if they're a brand new teacher, they may have met with their new teacher mentor that's assigned from the state program. So when you look at all of the supports from, the hiring committee and conversations with the principal on through HR and the tech department and the support of meeting with me in the online modules, and then a 3-day kind of intensive, people report really good results with that process. And people who've been through other districts and experienced something different either have insights to offer us about how we can improve, or they have given us really good feedback on what our process is. So we're always looking to improve that. We're waiting for all those survey results to come back in. The PD committee and the instructional coach team also look at those results from those surveys just to figure out how can we better support our people moving forward. Any questions on new teacher orientation, onboarding? Otherwise, I'd just go over the back to school schedule really quickly too.
Any questions from the board before we move on? Okay. All right, continue, Mr. Gaylor. Thank you.
All right. When it comes to back to school professional learning, that's these 3 days here. Staff tomorrow will hear the superintendent's report. I'll be introducing the Marzano teacher evaluation model. We had 2 days of training with a Marzano trainer on that. And we have a kind of a phased implementation. We'll be talking about that with staff. There's a lot of mandatory trainings, Title IX, CPR, AED, Safe Schools modules for those that are assigned to people, and as well as some time in their professional learning communities and some IEP 504 reviews. There's nurse meetings and trainings for students with medical needs. Each of the schools went over parts of our MTSS-B framework, which is our framework for behavioral support. They've all been working to understand the focused model. Some have had some implementation time ahead of an open house night and collaboration time ahead of that. They've been doing sessions for para-educators today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Feedback from last year was that there was a need to have more information about some of our students with special education needs and to have a little bit more time to prepare. So building principals have set aside time later this week when schedules are kind of all finalized for the staff that work with those students to be able to be even more prepared than they have in the past. They do a lot with emergency preparedness and protocols and kind of expectations for staff as well in this time. So really, we're focused on the Marzano focused model and PLC structures as kind of a consistent instructional framework, and that's the bigger piece that we're rolling out this year, but it's comprehensive of all of the things that we've been working on to this point. So it's not anything brand new, so to speak. It's just a different way of looking at that instructional model to kind of try to pull it all together. And then we've had a focus on making sure we're adequately prepared to support all kids, whether that's looking at MTSS-B frameworks, reviewing IEPs and 504s, and then additional time this year for collaborative planning and preparedness for teachers, and fostering that early, home to school connection through those open house events and being prepared for those. So that's a quick rendition. There is something going on a little bit different at each building, and we do give that autonomy to those building principals, but there's a consistent set of, at least in here, what those things should be that a teacher experiences in back to school time as well. Stand for any questions on that.
Questions from the board? Aaron?
Are we ready?
We are always ready, yeah. Probably some people experiencing some Mondays today, but we are ready. We've got most of the materials here. Sometimes we depend on vendors and shipping, but and kids keep rolling into the central office to register. We're excited and encourage families to consider making that choice, getting registered here at JPS.
If I could add something too, from a staffing perspective, I think we have struggled in some areas in the past with filling positions like special ed, for example, and I think we are better staffed in those areas now with our ability to fill positions internally, with utilizing our special ed techs, with utilizing now the J1 teachers when we do get those individuals, where I think we're better positioned in that in a lot of those areas than we have in the have been in the last few years. So I'm excited about that too, to be closer to fully staffed than we have been in probably 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and working with that group of new teachers, it's pretty exciting to see the caliber of people that were getting hired at JPS, and that is a reflection of the work that the board does as well. So pretty excited with the crew that we've got headed into the school year. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Gather? Okay. All right. Thank you for your time tonight and all the work you do. Moving on our agenda to the superintendent's report. Dr. Leck?
Thank you. You do have my written report. You have some personal updates that we'll talk about maybe in greater detail, unless you have questions on them now, but later on in the agenda. One I'll point out with the MOU for the SLPA. I think those are exciting opportunities in the type of opportunities that we need to look for to grow our own staff. And this is a great opportunity to do that, and I'm excited about what the future can hold in that position. Title I funding allocations and the mechanism. This is a topic I've talked about in the past, but now that we had final allocations released and we knew in the past we talked about that, we thought that was going to be about 90,000. Well, it's now 110,000. Part of that is the decreased appropriation from the feds. We were down about 2 million to our state block funding, so that means decrease plus this model change. I have gone down an analytical rabbit hole with this issue. I continue to be very frustrated by it. The squeaky wheel, maybe unfortunately for some, is not going away. I continue to push on the department on this model. I just don't think it's the right change. I think it's a change that works really well for allocation, from the state perspective of allocating. I don't think it's equitable. I've provided some examples that I think as schools we need to really challenge. So if you look at the total state allocation, I ran analysis on every district in the state, and what we're seeing is there's 9 districts. There's a net loss of 9 districts that were eligible for Title I in the past that are no longer eligible for Title I. I think it's around 1,700 students that impacts. So 1,700 fewer students are seeing Title I services than we're seeing before. The increase comes in what I call micro schools, schools that are under 50 in enrollment, and the ones that we're seeing drop off are somewhere between 100 and 500 students that were receiving Title I services in the past and are no longer eligible. There's a couple outliers that really raised my radar. We have a district with about 20 students that wasn't eligible last year. They received $130,000 this year in Title I funding. Remember, so with our student enrollment, we lost $110,000, but a school district with 20 students received a new $130,000, and that doesn't make sense to me. And that's all related to the census model. So what makes sense to me is that funding goes to students. Where students are served, funding goes to the students that are served. This model follows the census. So graded elementaries, for example, are generally speaking large winners because a large number of students reside there, but they go somewhere else for high school or middle school and high school. But they receive funding as if those students did attend their districts. So that's why you see these big outliers. On average, they're somewhere between like $380 per student and $470 per student on average is what you could on average expect for a school district funding. But what I see that this model has done is solved some problems by more inequitable solutions. So you see, we have districts that are receiving a per pupil payment, or per pupil receiving Title I funding as much as $23,000 a student. It just, when the average is $400 per student, those are some pretty big gaps that I just can't make my mind wrap around that they make sense, that that's the right solution for a rural state like North Dakota. To me, I don't care what the state or what the feds use. I don't care what's the easiest mechanism to determine the funding appropriations per district. I care about funding going to kids and that kids receive services. And when I see 1,700 students that had been eligible for Title I no longer eligible, when you see equity gaps increasing from 8,000 per pupil to 23,000 per pupil, that doesn't make sense to me. So we're pushing back. I'm having a meeting with DPI later this month, and we'll talk about a solution that I've recommended, that we bring some stakeholder groups together and start to look at the funding model and see what more we could do here. And I just think it's something we want to keep our mind on and around, because I think it's really important. Whether that change impacts Jamestown Public Schools Title I funding or not, I don't think it's the right model for us. And so I want to continue to see us push back on that. Elementary activities. We had an opportunity, really pretty late in the game, but you had an opportunity to enhance elementary activities and enhance a community partnership that we have with Jamestown Parks and Rec. If you are familiar with what happens in elementary activities now, programs all the way up through 5th grade are housed by the Parks and Rec. And we have taken on 5th grade. And so what we are doing moving forward this year, and we think that it's going to be a more efficient process. We think it's going to be an opportunity to enhance services for our kids. But Jamestown Parks and Rec will complete all the way through 5th grade activities. That'll happen at Two Rivers Activity Center. Because of how our bus drop-off works, we'll actually be able to, I think right now it looks like we'd be able to bus students to those activities, which we haven't been able to do in the past, which I think will enhance opportunities for kids as well. But it is a change from what we've done, but ultimately I think it's one of those efficiencies that we look for, and one of those opportunities to enhance the service and enhance a partnership that I think is important. So with that, I'm going to pause. Are there any questions?
Any questions so far? Dan?
On that elementary activities discussion, I think this would be a good topic for the communications committee to make sure we are clear of contract and boundaries and things like that for elementary teachers. Yep.
Yep, thank you for that. There's a plan to do that. We have a communications committee coming up in the next month. This will be one of the topics that we do broach. I do think it's important to recognize that the negotiated agreement outlines not if we will have a various program, but if we had a program, what would compensation and terms be for payment for those coaches or advisors and things like that. But we will bring that up and have had some preliminary discussions already. Other questions on elementary activities?
Continue.
Okay, speaking of other community partnerships, we have had a long-standing partnership with Collins Aerospace. They've provided support for JVCTC programming. They have done charitable giving for scholarships through Dollars for Scholars. And they've even provided funding for our first robotics team. We've had an opportunity to expand that through some charitable giving at the corporate level. And so in the very near future, we're going to be bringing together a group of stakeholders, including Collins, and look at that charitable giving, there's some pre-approval that's happened there already, and looking to maximize that charitable giving and also see what we can expand and align moving forward. So I'm very, very thankful for that continued support of Collins for JPS. 21st Century program funding. 21st Century funds our after-school programming. Tammy, Christy, Adam really did the bulk of the work here. I want to recognize what they did to get this application completed. And we did receive a notice of intent. Now, this isn't an award letter, but it's a notice of intent. But in the past, we've had $188,000 annually given to our after-school programming through 21st Century program funding, and in the 25 to 30 program years will receive $240,000. There's still a little bit of a question related to that 240 and if it applies to all of our elementary schools being eligible for after-school programming or not. So that might decrease a little bit if Gustner Elementary is not eligible, but we're still getting some details on that. So Vital Network is still, very much at a core activity for what we do. I'm just sharing a calendar so you can see the different responsibilities that we have as a district, from our baseline to our check-ins to our more qualitative information gathering that we issue at the end of the year. But you can see exactly what happens in the Vital Network partnership. I've included 25, 26 facility projects. I won't go through those, although we can talk about them if you have questions. But we allocated a little bit over $1 million recently, or in this summer, for summer projects on the capital projects plan. It just did a breakdown of kind of the key areas in each building. So as you can see, really a lot of different activities across the district out of that $1 million. And then the spotlight that I had was what you've already recognized. We had 42 staff. I wish I'd counted all the years. Next year I want to do that. Count up all the years of the individuals so you can see, when those 42 people come up, how many years of service that those individuals have given to our kids. So just a great appreciation for the work that they've done and do every day. So with that, I'd stand for other questions.
Any questions from the board? No. Also, just circling back to our facility projects, and we do have a long list of them. We have a lot to accomplish in a short amount of time while the students aren't in all the buildings, and some of our buildings are used all summer, so it adds some additional challenges. So appreciate all the people that did the work. As you look through the list, some of those, when you go into buildings, are visible, but there's a lot of work that we do and maintenance kind of things that aren't exactly visible, like HVAC and all those kinds of things. And you probably don't know, unless it's not working, then you notice it. And so, like I said, there's been quite a bit of investment in maintaining our buildings this summer, and so there is a list there that kind of highlights all of those. So thank you for providing that. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all right. Moving on our agenda, we have nothing under old business, nothing under new business. We have nothing under activities, building grounds, curriculum, assessment, instruction, or finance. Under finance now, we have approval of a food service meal price for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Is there a motion? Motion by Steve. Second by Dan. We have a motion and a second for approval of the food service meal prices for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And a shout out also to the JPS cafeteria crew. They were fun to follow this summer and all their posts, and they did a great job. So, also under finance, we have our general fund balance as well as monthly financials. Those are there for your information. Are there any questions for Christy at this time about those? Okay. If not, moving on. Under operations, approval of MOU with Central Valley Health Unit for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie. Is there a second? Second by Jacob. We have a motion and a second for approval of MOU with Central Valley Health Unit for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Under Personnel, A, approval of MOU for speech pathologist specialist in training with James River Special Education Cooperative. Is there a motion? Motion by Aaron. Is there a second? Second by Dan. We have motion and second for approval of MOU for speech pathologist specialist in training with James River Special Education Cooperative. Discussion. Dr. Luck, did you want to comment on this or just explain?
Well, just what the MOU outlines the process pretty well. I think, like I said, it's an opportunity to bring an employee back to the district, provide some training for her so she can expand and specialize her service in special ed, or excuse me, in speech language pathology, one of the most challenging positions we have in the district to find qualified staff. And it's just one of those situations that makes sense in the short term and long term.
Okay. Any discussion? Aaron?
Yeah, so this is stating 5 semesters. Is there any time frame associated with that? Or is it continue, back-to-back semesters, or is it 2.5 years, or what's the time frame for
Is it
getting that?
continual or is
It's
it
continual. It's throughout, and there'll be support throughout the process. Did I answer your question?
Just a time frame of when she's going to complete those 5 semesters?
Within 2 years or
A couple years?
Yep.
Okay.
Jamie?
I really am excited about this SLPA opportunity. I think it really is a great leap forward for us to get some of those special services in person again, which is so vital. So, yay.
Oh, thank you. I should have qualified some of the comments. We do virtual when we can't fill with people, and those are just never. Those are good services with very qualified people. It's very hard to replace people with screens, and when we can get more back to face-to-face, that's always going to be what we're looking for.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second for approval of the MOU for speech pathologist specialist in training with James River Special Education Cooperative. There be no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. B, approval of 0.5 FTE Dean of Students for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Is there a motion? Motion by Steve, second by Dan. We have a motion and a second for approval of a 0.5 FTE Dean of Students for 2025 to 2026 school year. Any discussion? Aaron? Jason, you're next.
Yeah, so on this one, I'm just kind of curious how the logistics and with the halftime, 2 halftime, and then in the case where one of them is not available, what is the escalation path to, and where do they go?
Sure. Great questions. With the halftime FTE, it's really worked out pretty well. With Rachel Casted as the Dean of Students, she's an instructional coach, so that means there's a little more flexibility in terms of the schedule that can accommodate the halftime better than a classroom teacher would have been able to. So I think the schedule aligned pretty well. What to do with, so there's always somebody on campus. And those schedules are made throughout the year, and we can be nimble and respond because of the instructional coach's flexibility of the schedule. As it relates to what happens if neither one of those individuals are on campus, because those things happen. We might have a meeting at central office, but there's already protocols in place for that now, because in a single section build or a single administrator building, and we have a meeting at central office of, say, our elementary administrator team or our full administrative team, there's already procedures in place for what we do if an emergent situation occurs and there isn't somebody on, and the administrator isn't on campus, there'd be some individual designated at the building level to address minor concerns. If there's a more significant concern, they would be in contact with another administrator or central office to come over and address those needs. So that part hasn't changed. I guess the only layer of complexity is now we're talking about 2 people instead of 1, but procedurally it should operate the same. And they'll always have the same level of coverage that they had in the past. It'll just be split between the 2 for this year.
Question answered? Okay. Jason?
Yeah, that was the crux of my question too, but Mrs. Casted is instructional coach at Louis only, or is there another assignment?
At Roosevelt.
and the reason I was wondering is because it was just kind of confusing, the halftime FTE, and then on the personnel hiring form, it's 15 days between, for the school year. I wasn't sure how we got the 15 days.
Yeah, and I should have clarified that. 15 additional days, like outside of contract, outside of the core contract, school days. Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of a .5 FTE Dean of Students for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Any other discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. C, approval to hire for the 2025 to 2026 school year upon a successful background check and appropriate licensure. Number 1, Stephanie Wall. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie? Second by Jason. We have a motion and a second for approval to hire for the 2025 to 2026 school year upon successful background check and appropriate licensure for Stephanie Wall. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved and welcome. D, approval of semester 1 extended contracts for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan. Is there a second? Second by Steve. We have a motion and a second for approval of semester 1 extended contracts for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Any discussion? Aaron.
Now we're going to pass up a chance to talk about extended contracts again. So again, we're really lacking definition on why we do this. I would like to see us somehow come up with a form of definition. I don't know what that looks like yet, but it's just, we do it because we've always done it. I just like to operate with maybe a little bit more structure, especially considering we only really do it for the high school. We don't do it for a teacher who's also going to be a reading coach or instructional coach or additional stuff there. There's no definition, so I think it would bode us well to give some level of definition, whatever that looks like. I'd like to see something in policy if we want to try to generate something up, or just how do we interpret the working day for a teacher, help us keep that work-life balance. But also, I do appreciate the stipend for those that go above and beyond. So I just like to see some definition around it.
Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's found its way into language in the strategic plan where I agree, having definitions of what denotes an extended contract at every level. At elementary, if we offered an extended contract, what would that be and why would it be? At the middle level, at the high school level, and providing a greater level of clarity and equity around the extended contract. I think at central office, we certainly respect that question and understand the need, and I think our staff would appreciate the definition of those two.
Jason?
Yeah, my question was going to be, we're looking at pretty much the same format or the same as we've done yearly, right? No additions, no new extended contracts?
These relate to the shortage areas in 3 different, in science, in math, and what am I missing? In English, thank you. In ELA, that's mostly related to that. And it's related to the 5 of 7. Right now, instructional preps are 5 of 7. If we go into 6 of 7, that denotes an extended contract. So that's where the definition comes in. And if that needs to be redefined or defined in a more definitive way, we certainly can do that. And I think it denotes, a little more clarity there. But that's what that recognizes is those 3 shortage areas and trying to fill those needs. Some were later fills, later resignations than others that made it really tough to hire.
Go ahead.
And
Jason.
it's my understanding, too, that as we look for efficiencies, whether that be the school day looking different at
Yep.
the high school or the school semesters looking different, my understanding is some of those decisions can lead into
Yep.
not necessarily needing this as much,
Yeah,
correct?
some of those equities, equity studies, will certainly look at time and schedules and how that time is structured at every level. We're talking a lot about the high school now because of the extended contracts, but really when we're looking at those schedules, we need to be thinking about every different level, not just one.
Aaron?
Just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, is this something that trimesters would help us with and adjust to?
We believe that it would. I think that there's a greater conversation that it needs to include our staff and our community members, our parents, before we ever get to that point. But yes, that's part of what we have identified in the strategic initiatives as needing to study.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. So we have a motion, a second for approval of semester 1 extended contracts for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Any other discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Number 7, policies and procedures. A, we have 1 through 4. Is it okay if we do all of them at one time? Is there anything that we'd like pulled out prior? Okay. Number 1, rescind policy DDBD military leave and adopt policy DDBD military leave. Number 2, amended policy ABEA wellness. Number 3, first reading of policy ACG child safety liaison work group and mandatory training. Number 4, amended policy FFE extracurricular participation requirements. That's 1 through 4. Is there a motion? Motion by Steve. Is there a second? A second by Aaron. We have a motion, a second for approval of recommended policies 1 through 4. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Number 8, under tuition, we have approval of tuition agreements for the 2024 to 2025 school year. Number 1, Montpelier. Number 2, Jamestown. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan? Second by Jason. We have a motion, a second for approval of tuition agreements for 2024 to 2025 school year. Number 1, Montpelier. Number 2, Jamestown. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Any items for future agenda? Jamie?
Much like Mr. Meisner and Ms. Eckert's experience with the Dean of Students, I'd love to see Ms. Castett and Ms. Schmidt come present to the board once or twice this next school year.
That's a good idea. Thanks, Jamie. Any other items? Jason?
I'm sure at some point we will see a breakdown of enrollment per elementary school. Just kind of curious as to some of our redistricting thoughts came to fruition or we were off somewhere or.
Yeah, we can do that next month. I'll bring it as part of a superintendent's report. Pretty much exactly as we anticipated thus far.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes we'll get the numbers, and so that's good, of each grade level, so that's great. Okay, any other items? Any other items? Okay. We have upcoming, and obviously if you think of something later, please let Dr. Leck or myself know. Upcoming meetings, we have a back-to-school breakfast on Tuesday, August 19th, which is tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And B, strategic plan committee meeting on Monday, August 25th at the Central Office Conference Room at 5:15 p.m. And we have a school board meeting on, Tuesday. It's on Tuesday. It's our only Tuesday meeting, September 2nd, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room. Any other meetings that we didn't get? Dan?
Do we have a schedule for the communications committee?
Yes, I think
Okay.
that is after our next school board
It's after the next one,
meeting.
okay.
Yep, it's in September, but it is after the next school board meeting. So it's not between now and September 2nd, so it's the middle of September sometime.
September 4th.
4th, okay, there you
So
go.
right after our
Okay.
next meeting.
Yep, sometime after, good. I'm a little closer than I thought, but I knew it was after the next meeting. Jason?
Have we discussed strategic planning session, potential to discuss some of these facility issues? Board retreat? Yeah, board retreat,
Like a
sorry.
retreat format.
We need to find a date. The idea was we would have our strategic plan first, have our, sometime maybe November-ish, if that would work.
Probably early November, late
wanna do
October,
Oc-
early November, so somewhere in there. We can start putting together some dates and looking at those. The strategic plan is very close. We have some feeling better about the metrics that are built into it, and so we'll have one more meeting here and hopefully kind of try to finalize it so we can get it to the board for full board approval at the next meeting. Any other finance, facilities, anything else coming up that we have scheduled so far? Okay. All right. Remember to your monthly superintendent evaluation. Oh, this just reminded me. I'll finish this. Section 2, Board Relations, and Section 4, Curriculum and Student Support Services. As a reminder to complete that. I'm going to ask a couple of you to look at the superintendent evaluation. That is coming up again in November. And we, especially now that the strategic plan is also getting very close, we looking at possibly lining some of it to the evaluation to align with the strategic plan. So I have one volunteer so far, and so if there's another board member or two, okay, Jason, to volunteer, then I will create a little task force, and as long as the board, I think we discussed that at a previous meeting, and the board was okay with that. If you have any concerns with that, let me know. But we'll kind of bring that forward, and then we can be ready for November. We'll have to finish with this one, and then we'll be ready to start between November and March. But November will be here in a couple months. So, all right. There being no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.